McGrath here. Welcome to today's show. So we're going to jump in and talk about Tom Lee still giving massive predictions for Bitcoin and Ethereum. I want to have a little sip of what he's drinking. We're going to talk about that in today's show. Also, Michael Saylor talking about a China Bitcoin ETF and what that could do for Bitcoin overall. And then additionally, we're going to talk about Larry Fink talking about the tokenization of real world assets on the blockchain and how that could be massive, massive, massive for crypto and Ethereum. And we're going to get into the investors and people who are buying BMNR. Lots of big names who have invested in BMNR. We're going to talk about that today also. And the government shut down today. The vote looks like it's going to happen with the House of Representatives. I think it's happening somewhere around 4 o'clock, but I haven't gotten the exact data. So we should have news on that later today. Not tax advice, not financial advice, not legal advice. Do your own research. And let's jump in right now and get rolling. So Tom Lee dropping bombs on what's going on. He still has massive predictions. Again, I would like to have a sip of what Tom is actually sipping on. He still thinks that Bitcoin could hit close to $200,000 by around January is what he's saying now. Okay. Tom says people have been too negative lately. A lot of old school holders or OGs have been selling around the $100,000 mark. Since October 15th, long-term holders have offloaded 28,000 Bitcoin, more than new holders are adding. Old wallets are cashing out. So he still believes Bitcoin is under-owned, and he maintains his position on that as well as Ethereum. Now, here's where it gets interesting. He says Ethereum might outperform Bitcoin in the short term. Why? Because all the new stuff like stablecoins and tokenized gold. If you look at tokenized gold, the supply of tokenized gold has doubled since the start of the year. So this just shows like gold, which is a real world asset, tangible thing, is being tokenized and put on the blockchain. So it really shows you what's happening. $2.7 billion worth of tokenized gold on Ethereum, my friends. So there's just a big shift of what's happening of more and more companies going onto the blockchain and building on the blockchain. That's why Tom says Ethereum could outperform Bitcoin in the short run, and even Wall Street is building on it. Larry Fink is talking about BlackRock literally tokenizing everything on the blockchain. Like he sees a world where all real world assets, real estate, bonds, stocks, gold is tokenized on the blockchain. All right. If you want to learn more about tokenization, it's taking something from the real world, your house, your savings, or even your art, and turning it into a digital token that lives on the blockchain. So the token is like a representation of that stock. So if it's like Apple stock, you tokenize it. It's a representation of the stock. And so people can go buy that token and trade it 24/7, 365 and move it at the speed of light. All right. Now, we're going to talk about BMNR right here in a little bit too, about the people investing and buying into BMNR. There's lots of big news around that. Of course, the price continues to struggle. Strategy is getting nuked right now. I would just say don't expect strategy to turn around until we actually start to see some euphoria back in the marketplace. These MNAV companies where they have Bitcoin on their balance sheet or Ethereum on their balance sheet, like BMNR and MSTR, in bearish times, they get nuked, and that's what happens. I'm still holding my BMNR. I'm still holding my MSTR, and I'm waiting for a bearish move in the market, which I think we're going to have over the next several months. And we're going to go into 2026, okay? So if you want to get my book, if you want to understand the fundamentals during times like this, I go into depth into MSTR, BMNR, Ethereum, Bitcoin, and the new digital economy. So this talk about tokenization and moving onto the blockchain, like if you have a fundamental understanding of that, then your confidence doesn't get shaken as much when you really understand the fundamentals. So you go get the book down below. As you know, I'm placing trades every day. Sometimes I win. The majority of the time I win, and sometimes I lose. So I've been profitable the last 16 out of 17 weeks. Monday, I placed a bad trade. So we'll see if I'm profitable this week. But today I placed another trade and picked up some profits. So I'm averaging, I would say, this says 5% weekly, around 4%, a little bit over 4% weekly right now on my trades. And if you compound that over the course of the year, that's a pretty good return. So if you want to learn my trading strategy, that is down below. I'm giving it to you for free. The number of my friends that are reaching out to me that want to know how I'm trading and want to know what I'm doing is a lot. We just started up a group where we're coaching people on how I'm trading and doing what I'm doing. So even when the markets are down, you pick up shares at a very, very, very cheap cost. Okay. I just moved additional money into my account. I have not purchased additional BMNR. Again, I trade every day. And so I pick up shares of BMNR by trading. I don't have to put new money in, but the price is so low. I just transferred some new money and I'm waiting for the time to buy. It might be soon. Okay. I'll let you know when I do that. So get my book. That's a way you can support the channel, and you can support your friends and get your family involved, understanding what Bitcoin is, what MSTR is, what BMNR, and what the new world of tokenization is. It's all down below. Get it for free. Okay, back to this tokenization. I've been talking about this on this channel for a while. To put it simply, people ask, what is tokenization? What does it mean? It's just simple. Like, you have companies like JPMorgan, who was a naysayer. You have companies like PayPal. You have companies like BlackRock. They're already on the blockchain. All right. And what they're doing is they're taking real world assets. When you see RWA, that's what that means, a real world asset. And they want to move them onto the blockchain. Why? In a very, very simple explanation. It's simple. Like, I want to be able to trade stocks 24/7, 365. Customers want that. Their customers want it. So they're going to take Apple stock, Tesla stock, all the different stocks out there. And these institutions, for example, like a Fidelity, will hold the stock, and then they'll actually hold the real Apple shares. And then they will create tokens and put them on the blockchain. And then it'll be a tokenized Apple stock. And people will be able to go buy the token, which is a symbol of Apple. Which the Fidelity, let's say they're building their app on Ethereum, go get, buy our Apple token stock, and people go and they buy the stock and they trade the stock, and they hold the real shares themselves in their brokerage account, whatever it is. And then they have tokens that represent it, and then the rest of the world can go trade and sell that stock. And why are they doing it? It's just really simple. It's the basic fact that you want a world where money settles faster. When you go trade a stock today, it can take 1 to 2 days to settle. On the blockchain, it won't take that time. It'll be instant. If you want to send money to a friend across the world in Argentina, on the blockchain, you just get on there and you send it. Hence, we have stablecoins. So the speed, the security of the blockchain, the 24/7, 365 of it, is why you have all these companies that are moving on, and why you have the most powerful company in the financial world, BlackRock, saying that all real world assets will be tokenized on the blockchain. That is a big statement. It's a huge statement. So that's where the future is, and it's moving there. So despite the fact that we're dumping, and where once this government shutdown, hopefully when the government opens up again officially, we'll get some freaking news that's positive, that starts to stabilize the markets. But the markets have been shaken from the October, $19 billion liquidation. People are still regaining their confidence. It's a new world. We got shaken with October and November, where it's like we're supposed to have a bull run, but it's not happening. We got shaken by the Fed statements recently. But there are good indicators, and the indicators are that the number of financial institutions moving on the blockchain is a really good indicator for Ethereum and also for Bitcoin. So you can trade, store, and use those things, these real world assets, like your savings accounts and money market accounts that are going to be tokenized, stocks tokenized. Like, you can trade, you can use these things, you can move these things, just like you'd send Bitcoin or Ethereum today. Tokenization will make that possible with all assets. With real estate, you have companies doing it where you tokenize it. You take a real estate property, for example, that's $1 million, you put it on the blockchain, and then people can buy $100 worth by buying the token. They can buy $1,000 worth. So now you can have people invest in real estate who don't have the assets to do it, don't have the financing to do it, and they can do it through the blockchain by buying, tokens of it. So this is a big deal. Larry Fink says this is a massive opportunity for BlackRock. They already have a money market fund. Go look it up. It's a money market fund. It's tokenized. It's on the blockchain. They got people already buying it. So Fink's going there. He's not stupid. They want to move beyond traditional finance, beyond just stocks and bonds, and bring everything into a new digital financial system. There's already about $4.1 trillion sitting in digital wallets. So there's a huge amount there. And that's not even, a lot of that isn't even the US yet. So $4.1 trillion. So there's money that's moving on the blockchain. Larry Fink says if they can digitize things like ETFs, then they can bring millions of new investors into the system safely and also instantly, which they're going to do. So if you're a financial institution, Do you want to be restricted to your local or national area to do business, or do you want to do business all across the world at the speed of light? It's a pretty common sense question. So a world that doesn't exist, like if you could imagine a world in the future without the blockchain and continuing a decade into the future with the snail mail system that we have right now, which is, settlement takes place in 2 days, money gets moved. It takes 3 to 5 days internationally to send a wire, the fees that take place by moving and sending money, like you're not going to have that in the future. That would be the Fred Flintstone era. And so to see a world without crypto and without blockchain in the future, I don't see that as even a remote possibility, which is why I'm so bullish on the space. So Larry Fink's not just talking about crypto anymore. He's talking about a new kind of economy where every dollar, every property and investment lives on the chain. That's a big statement, guys. Big statement. Guy who controls $11 trillion worth of wealth in his company BlackRock, I think he knows what he's talking about the future of Wall Street and the future of the economy, okay? So we're only seeing the very first chapter of this. It's a very, very beginning chapter. This is very important for people to understand. Yes, I'm not sugarcoating the fact that we're getting nuked right now. Strategy's getting nuked. BMNR is nuked around $40. Bitcoin dropped to 101,000. There needs to be a shift in the sentiment because there's good things happening. There's good indicators, but the fear of the marketplace has been buried because people have been crushed over the last couple months. So we have good indicators happening. We just need to see a turn in the sentiment, and we need liquidity back in the economy. Like the government shutdown, when there's not liquidity in the economy and there's not money pumping through out of the Treasury general account where it's paying people and people are getting their paychecks and money's flowing in the economy. There's just money just sitting there stuck. So the government reopens will be a big move for liquidity. Okay, and we need that to happen. So we should find out today on this officially, and then the bill will get signed into order by Trump. All right, now if you look at BMNR here, and you look at potential for BMNR stock, and this is potential if the NAV premium goes to 1.6, which means that the stock trades at a 60% premium to the net asset value of its Ethereum and the rest of the assets it has on the balance sheet, okay? So right now they've got 3 million plus Ethereum, 192 Bitcoin, 61 million worth of Orbs tokens, and almost $400 million in cash. Put it all together, that's around $13.2 billion. So what happens if Ethereum keeps rising? That's the question, right? Rising from the bottom that it was at. Remember, it was at 3,000 the other day. It's at 3,400 right now, okay? If ETH hits 4,500, BMNR could be worth about $72 per share. This is with a 60% like 1.6 NAV premium. The stock trading is 60% above the net asset value of its ETH and its other holdings. It typically trades around 1.3. It's dropped a little bit during this time, but I don't think it's unreal to see a world where it goes to 1.6 when the sentiment picks back up. If ETH goes back up to 4,500, you're going to see a bearish sentiment turn into a mildly bullish sentiment, and the possibility for BMNR to shoot up is high, okay? If ETH goes to $5,000, that could jump BMNR to $80 per share. And if ETH runs up to 6,000, BMNR could go to $95 per share. Okay. And that's with the NAV premium, again, being at 1.6. It's not there right now. It's 1.2 something, or maybe a little lower. Okay. So that's almost triple from where it is today. Not quite, because it's at 40 today. So it'd be like 2.5 times if we go to 95 for BMNR. But that is the future that I see at some point happening. And I think we're going to extend and roll into 2026 on this. So think about this. Tom Lee says Ethereum could reach $9,000, $12,000. Again, I'm going to let you hear it from his mouth. I would love to sip on what he's sipping, because does he know something that we don't know? This is just what he says. I don't think we're going to go to $9,000 to $12,000 at all, in my personal opinion, by January, as he's talking. But let's look at what he's saying.
Treading water, pointers that are.
How far do you think we get on Bitcoin by the end of the year?
Well, I think people have dampened their expectations for Bitcoin because Bitcoin's been treading water, and there have been a lot of OGs, original Bitcoiners that are selling above 100,000, but it is still an underallocated asset class. So I think Bitcoin actually potentially can get to the high 100,000s, maybe even 200,000 by the end of the year. I think it's a big ask, but to me, what's more obvious is Ethereum can have a huge move into year-end, because even Cathie Wood wrote about it. She thinks stable coins have been cannibalizing demand for Bitcoin, and gold and tokenized gold is cannibalizing demand for Bitcoin. But stable coins and tokenized gold run on smart contract blockchains like Ethereum, and Wall Street is building, and Larry Fink wants to tokenize everything on Wall Street, on the blockchain. That means Ethereum is where people are starting to raise their growth expectations. And if you're raising your growth expectations, then your discount to the future is going up. So I think that there's a bigger move in Ethereum. And Mark Newton, our head of technical strategy, thinks we can be like 9 to 12,000 by January. I think that's about right. I think Ethereum, just 3,600 more than doubles between now and year end, or between now and January.
So there you go. I don't share his sentiment on that at all. I think it's not only a big ask. I think it's just something that's overstated, but we'll see what happens. I think that we need to have some tailwinds coming in. We need to have a good December where the Fed cuts interest rates. We need to have the quantitative tightening, which is going to end in December. We need to have the Fed not be hawkish, but to be dovish. We need the government to open back up. We need continuing good news where people are moving onto the blockchain, which we are seeing as a good indicator. And we need liquidity to get back into the system, which from the government shutdown has crushed the economy on that. So I think, you know, what Tom's talking about, I think they're holding on to a $9,000 price point for Ethereum. Do I see that in the future? Absolutely. Do I see that by January? I don't think that's real. Okay. Do I think that we could get to maybe January, or maybe ETH could get up to $6,000, $7,000? I think that's real if those things happen that I'm talking about. And that could be big things for BMNR if that happens. All right. And then we continue to see what's happening with strategy. It continues to drop. I do see that these guys are extremely bullish because they're just bullish on what they're doing long term. And if you look at the number of investors, let's look at the data here of people that are buying into BMNR or who have bought into BMNR in the past. It's because Ethereum isn't just growing with crypto anymore. It's becoming the foundation for a new global economy. And so is other blockchains like Solana and so forth, but Wall Street is building a lot on Ethereum. So if some of these predictions come true, we might be witnessing a huge shift in money and technology that our generation has ever seen. I think this will be the biggest shift in the financial system that we've ever seen during our lifetime, because we're moving on to completely new rails. Like the way finance is going to be run on the Ethereum blockchain is completely different. That's why Wall Street's moving there. That's why I maintain my bullishness on BMNR. I still hold my conviction on BMNR to this day that it is the next MSTR. And I don't mean MSTR at today's prices of 222. I mean, when we get euphoria back in the marketplace, whenever that happens, at some point in the future, we might have to wait years for that to happen, or it may happen in December, January, February, March. We'll see. But when that happens, BMNR, I think, is going to just a huge, huge play for the future, and certainly owns Ethereum, which represents the new digital infrastructure of finance. Okay, Cathie Wood, Ark Invest, 240,000 shares of BitMine. So these are the shares that they purchased over time. We've also got BitCapital just joins in. BitCapital is another company, which is an asset management company. It's supposed from Colin. Joins giants like JPMorgan, who also own BMNR. Vanguard owns BMNR. Charles Schwab owns BMNR. They've got millions of dollars worth of BMNR. So larger institutions, blue chip investors are in this game. And, I'm following the money and where the money's going, right? If you look at some of the bearishness that just came out, this news came out yesterday, who knows if it's the reason for the drop in Bitcoin, but it's definitely not good news. We have China accusing the U.S. of seizing 127,000 Bitcoin stolen in 2020 hack of the, however you pronounce that, the Lubayan mining pool. So basically says that there was, they're basically saying to the U.S., hey, this could be our Bitcoin that was stolen, and the U.S. is being accused of this. All right, so China's accusing the U.S. of taking 127,000 Bitcoin worth nearly $13 billion. Back in 2020, Chinese Bitcoin mining pool called Lubayan got hacked, and 127,000 Bitcoin vanished overnight. For years, nobody knew where it went. And China's National Cyber Agency says those same stolen coins somehow ended up in the U.S. government-linked wallets. Okay, China believes it was done by a state-level group, basically a government-backed operation. And now they're accusing the U.S. of being part of it because Washington later seized those same coins. Okay, in a case against a Chinese businessman named Chen Zi. And if you look at Arkham, it basically can tell you this technology basically links wallets to like real-world people to find out like who actually owns these wallets. And so basically what they're saying on July 5th, 2024, a wallet labeled Lubian.com hacker sent 120,000 Bitcoin to another wallet labeled U.S. government. Chen Zi seized funds. Who knows if it's true, but that's what the data says. So that's what's causing all the noise right now in the marketplace. Michael Saylor shares one of his bigger predictions of what's going to happen. And if you were not listening to my show the other day, the MSTR just went into Europe and they issued $715 million worth of preferred stock there. And people are like, if there's all this good news, why is strategy dumping? Because strategy is not going to recover until the sentiment turns around. No matter how much good news Saylor's putting out and how much Bitcoin he's buying, the sentiment has to return for these MNAV type companies that hold Bitcoin or Ethereum on their balance sheet to start thriving again. Okay, but here's what Saylor says.
To give access to Bitcoin. And if you just want Bitcoin to be successful, when you hear the Bank of Shanghai is rolling out a Bitcoin ETF, custody to the Bank of Shanghai, you would say, that's great. That's going to give access to Bitcoin to 1.5 billion people in China. Okay. And they're going to buy a bunch of Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin is going to go up to $10 million coin. So here's the question. Do you want the billion people in China to be rich? And do you want to be rich while the Chinese government still has a bunch of laws that you may or may not agree with? Or do you want the people in China to be poor and you to be poor while the Chinese government has a set of laws that you don't agree with?
Pretty easy.
Or do you think that you're so great, you're Superman, that you can just go and topple the entire government by barking on Twitter? It's like, I just don't think, right, that you're going to topple, an entire sovereign nation with your ideology. So
there you go. There it is, straight from Saylor's mouth. Good things happening in terms of China getting in the game. China wants Bitcoin. So you got large institutions just piling in, man. You got governments piling in. It's got lots of good things laying the groundwork for a good future in the face of a terrible present. Okay. Saylor believes Bitcoin one day could hit 10 million. That's old news. He also thinks it could go $20 million in 20 years. But that would give access to 1.5 billion people in China, right? So if an ETF comes out there, that's 1.5 billion people getting access to buying Bitcoin. Where do you think the price is going to go? So it's times like these where you really got to dig in. If you own a stock like MSTR or BMNR, you really got to believe in the fundamentals and believe in the future of the company, because these are like companies that move way more volatile than Bitcoin. Okay, if you look at the volatility of Bitcoin, we've seen Bitcoin 126 high, now at 101. That's 20-something%. You look at the volatility of strategy, it's like way, way, way different. Okay, so you just got to understand the fundamentals. If you want to go get my book to learn more about the fundamentals, you should go do that. It's down below. I highly encourage it. BMNR, you got to understand the fundamentals too of what they're doing. And if you believe in the future of the blockchain and what's happening, which I do, then you clearly know that holding these things long term, not financial advice, but for me, holding strategy longer term, BMNR longer term is a winner. And if I hadn't bought into strategy so low, like this is a good price to pick up more shares, but I bought in so low in 2024 that for me, it's not a good price to pick up. I just hold what I have. Okay. So there you go. So when that many people finally buy Bitcoin through the China ETFs, we could have a complete shift and change, continues to put more scarcity into the system. And that's what Saylor is talking about here. This is just a highlight of what he's been saying. If you look at the highlights of record liquidity on Strategy's digital credit products and their daily traded volume surging to 182 million across Strike, Strife, Stride, and Stretch. If you don't know what these products are, these are basically credit instruments that Strategy is issued in the marketplace they are preferred stock. They go in the marketplace and say, hey, we'll give you a 10% rate of return. Give us your money. We'll take your money and go buy Bitcoin, and we'll back these preferred stocks that we're giving you with our Bitcoin as the basic collateral. Make sense? So that's what's happening in the marketplace. There's lots of good news, but there's no movement in price action that's good news. And so that's what we're waiting for. So hang tight, hang in there. It is, sobering. It can be disappointing. It can be frightening. It can be exasperating. It can be all those things. And again, go back to understanding the fundamentals about what you own. And this is the crypto marketplace. It's wild, it's volatile, and it's unpredictable. So let's hope for better news today. Let's hope the government shutdown is done, man. And it's like we open up and we start moving forward with this world. All right. At the end of the day, I hope this serves you. If you want my trading strategy, it's down below. I picked up more shares today. Monday, I lost some shares, but I picked up some more shares today. And I pick up more shares almost every week. My win ratio is close to 90% on trading. And if you want to learn how I'm doing it, there's a video down below. You can snag it. And even as the stock is low with BMNR, it's a great time to pick up shares. It's either buy the shares or me, I trade and I pick up more shares. And so mostly I trade and pick up more shares is my main strategy when it's high and when it's low. All right. Hope this serves you. Hope you have a good rest of the day and have hopefully some amazing news coming if the government reopens, for crying out loud. All right. Hope you guys have a good day and hang tight and stay well. Okay.